Hi, I'm Gary Strigler, and today and actually tomorrow we're going to be working on a project replacing 5 or 6 exterior doors. Now the good news is they are a little bit of everything from some outswing doors to a door between the garage and the house, and even a door we're going to install in the house between the heated and unheated part of the garage. So gonna be a little bit of everything. Now, I do not want to lose viewers, but I can just tell you right now that if you're looking for that video on how to perfectly install flashings and door tape and everything under ideal conditions, sorry, this is not gonna be it. This house is about 30 years old. I did a little bit of investigating yesterday and found that what we've got is a fiber board siding, which the owner's done a great job of keeping painted, so it's in really good shape for what it is. And it looks as though they put OSB on the whole house, but there's no house wrap. And obviously there's not really anything we can do about that. So we don't really know what we're going to find. Now I know this phrase has already been taken, but this job's going to be a little bit like a box of chocolates. We have no real idea what we're going to do, but hopefully there'll be a lot of value in that surprise. Now, I've got a friend, Sean, who's going to be helping me. I used to be able to set a double door by myself, but that time is long, long gone. So, at any rate, we're going to basically start taking these doors out, and we're just going to see what we find, and then we're going to deal with it to the best of my experience. So, I hope that, if you're interested in remodeling and hanging doors, this will be really useful for you. If you're a person who does this all the time, it may make you feel way better about yourself, because I'm a trim carpenter that is done some remodeling, working on doors. I'm going to just do my best to set these doors in a way that we don't create a water problem. I will say that, so if you look at this, the number one problem, it's like right down here, we've got a good bit of rotting. We're going to be replacing these doors with doors that have a complete composite jamb. And then on the trim, we're going to be using Windsor One product on the outside, which is going to come closer to matching what's been done around the windows. One thing we're not going to do, whenever this house was built, they went to a lot of trouble to be able to run the siding over and then just put trim on the top of it. And I just don't think that's the best way to do it. So what we're going to end up doing is cutting the siding back, and then I believe I'm going to tape between the OSB and the door jamb, but you'll see that later. At any rate, we're going to try and upgrade this trim detail. We're definitely going to be upgrading the doors, and at any rate, man, there's not much to say, but let's get started. Well, that's about all the talking about this project we can do, so it's time to get started. First thing I'm going to do is just get the door out of the way. Sean, if you want to stand there, I may just go ahead and just pull the screws. We could pop the pins, but let me see how I do on popping the pins, whether that's going to work well for us or not. All right. By the way, so even the edge of this door is started to rot because we're getting so much moisture in there. And this is what I would call a semi-protected place. One of the other things, there's not really any drop between the sidewalk and here. In an ideal world, we want to have probably at least 1.5 inches so that as moisture and things hit this, they don't tend to come back towards the door as much. But, we're not going to change that for sure. Well, I knew we were off too fast of a start. There we go. There's, I'm from Arkansas, and there's kind of a famous saying. One of the Arkansas football coaches said one time, he said, sometimes you just got to play with what the defense gives you. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're not going to be changing any of this. Sean, just put that aside somewhere. All right, so there's nothing really here to save. Our trim that we're going to be using is 3 inches wide, just a little wider than this. The only thing I'm concerned about, because this has been painted so well, I don't want to just tear this trim off and pull the finish off the siding back about 3 inches. So I'm going to take a utility knife and at least score that caulking. You can really appreciate when there's been a good painter working, because you can see how they've caulked everything. Now, one of the things I did do is I brought pretty much every wrecking bar that I own. I love doing this part. We're just going to throw it to one side and we'll just pick it up later. Probably landed nails up. Oh boy. Well, may have just made a mess. Again, it's like live TV. What we may do is we may just add a second part to the trim detail over this door to try and cover that up. Or maybe upsize our header. All right. So, you know, Sean, there's nothing here that we want to save about this. So the fastest way to get it out of here, the trim on the insides are gone. The fastest way to get it out of here is, take the Sawzall and just cut through it. And that does have a screw sticking up. Now, I don't know whether we're going to save the door hardware or not. If nothing else, we could possibly save it and take it to the Habitat Restore or something. But at any rate, we don't want to throw the door jamb in the trash. They may have a long screw. May have a long screw in here. Let me see if either one of these is like a screw. That's not a long screw, nor is that. So, you know, when you properly install a deadbolt, and this has not much to do with installing a door, you want to run a long screw through to where it actually hits the stud. Yeah. There may be one up here too. Let's see. No. So looks like they skipped that step. Maybe what I'm getting is a screw right here. Yeah. All right, now let's see. I think I undercut it. Now they did do a really good job foaming this in. See, it's all rotten down there at the bottom. Someone, little spider there. Okay. So just like I thought, we've got OSB right here. Got a lot of foam we're going to have to get out. Probably want to get out. This is where we're thankful that there's not a lot of breeze. Otherwise, this foam could end up everywhere. We'll use just enough screws to make our life difficult. Screw over here too. So this isn't a great time to be bringing up this point, but I do need to make sure. Well, I was thinking that this was a security wire, but if it is, I've already cut the wire. So that is one of the things you think about when you're doing exterior doors, either making arrangements to have the security system redone, or there's a certain size hole, I can't remember, you can probably look it up online, that you just drill that hole and you can leave the wire hanging out. But the good news is there's not any alarms going off, and I'm not seeing any wire. This is really fighting me. There we go. Yeah, man, this guy's great help. Did you see? It's right on top of that. Okay, so we pretty much got everything out. Now, the one part that I should have made a big deal about early on in this is you always want to make sure that your replacement door is correct before you cut the door out. The alternative to that is have a couple sheets of OSB left around. I know that because I've done that. So we're hoping the salesman on this was really, really good. So we're going to hope we got everything just right. Now, the only thing we hadn't done is remove this. But again, good teaching point. Make sure that you verify that the door is the right swing, the right jam size. The color of hardware can be fixed. Anyway, see how they got this stuck now. Okay, so this is interesting. This bottom part of the threshold is composite, and though everything around it has rotted, the bottom of the threshold is still perfectly good. All right. Now we've actually got just a tiny bit of damage down here. It is what I'd say is right on the borderline of needing to be replaced. I am going to say like I said, I'm really kind of conflicted because it's super close to being enough where we need to replace it. What I may go ahead and do, again, is get committed. I think I've got some scrap lumber, and I think I may go ahead and just cut up here like about 6 or 8 inches and fit a piece in really tight. Now remember, these two pieces are what we call the trimmer pieces that are supporting the header, which carries the weight. They're nailed in real well, but what we really want to do is not count on nails, we want to count on just the weight going down. So, a little unplanned deal here. We are going to get the Sawzall, cut that out, and go get some lumber out of the truck. And by the way, this is what I mean by, this is not the perfect video. This is the really practical video. One of the things I think I'm going to do, I said I was going to use the Sawzall. I think I'm going to try maybe to make that cut with the circular saw because I should get a more square cut and it'll be easier to fit a piece in there tighter. Sean, would you do me a favor? I think I'd use it to chock the trailer wheels. There's a 2x4, and then there should be a cordless framing nailer in the back of that truck someplace. Thanks. So what I want to do is get this set right about 1.5 inches, so I'm not cutting through too much else. This side over here will be easy. This side over here may be a little more challenging. Yeah. So I feel like there's just enough of that bottom treated plate left there that I can just fill in a piece. And you know, the interesting thing, again, the house is about 30 years old, so this really gives us an opportunity to kind of see, you know, what works and what doesn't work when you're doing a house. Because I want to see the blade, I'm going to try and make this cut back this direction without hitting that rock. That would be the goal. And I hope that'll be the case, because this is pretty much a brand new saw blade. I may have managed to find a nail there. All right. I'm going to probably have to finish some of this up with a chisel or the recip saw, because I was really wanting to stay, if possible, away from that stone. Okay, again, it's just enough that I think I've got enough wood there to take care of it. Maybe I can get up in here. Okay, so here we got this. And our framing nailer, yeah, I'll just rob this battery right here. For a minute there, I was thinking I'd already lost my pencil, but I found it. Good. See, I want that to be fairly tight going in. All right. You know, I think the interesting thing about this, you know, we saw a little bit of damage on the outside. It's kind of amazing and scary how much more there was behind there. This one might be a little bit tighter. Add one or two up there too. Okay, I think we're kind of back to where we thought we were going to be a few minutes ago. Just going to keep on throwing things out of the way here. And probably the next thing that I need to do is get this cleaned off since I'm down here. Now, so the chisel that I carry in my nail apron is sort of semi-sharp, but sometimes we just describe it as a beater chisel. So I got a pretty good coat of silicone here, but there's actually moisture underneath that silicone. So, like I said, there's moisture underneath that silicone. This is the part where it's unscripted. What we're going to probably need to do once I get this cleaned up is we're going to maybe get a fan or something and let it blow on this, because we want it to be totally dry when we put the next coat of silicone on. And I think maybe I'll take here some denatured alcohol or some lacquer thinner real quick and wipe this down also to make sure we've got the cleanest possible surface down here for this the silicone to stick on. But I don't think it would do any good to put silicone on this concrete that's wet, and it's, I don't know, it's been a day or two since it rained. One of the other things that can also, so you can tell that silicone's really not bonded to that wet concrete. You know, sometimes even like sprinklers, irrigation systems can be a problem. You can tell after I get done with this job, I'm going to take my belt sander to the chisel. I thought sometime I want to do a video on sharpening for people who aren't sharpening experts. I always did just enough sharpening to get me by. We got quite a bit of caulk out here too. And you know, it's kind of interesting. There's sort of a fine line. I don't know what I would advise, but you know, this being really well caulked across here is helpful to keep water from blowing in. But then the other part of it is, once water does get in, it doesn't give it any place to go, although it could go down here behind this brick. So anyway, I'm going to guess we're still going to try and caulk it in real well when we go to putting ours back. One more little bit of piece of the outside trim left here. All right, so I think I've done about all the work that I can do here. Yeah, we're probably going to get a fan, but might be able to do the leaf blower. I wonder if you could even take a hair dryer to this and dry it out. So we're just going to stop for a minute and try and figure out what the options are. But I'm starting to think the hair dryer might be a really good option. So definitely need to get a broom and do a little cleanup, and we'll be right back. All right, we made a few adjustments and now we're back on track. What we actually did, we decided to try that heat gun, not a blow dryer, a hair dryer, but a heat gun. And so we dried all that moisture out. And then one other thing that we did was we took some lacquer thinner in a rag and we really cleaned this really well. So I want to backtrack for just a minute because I was talking about, you know, needing to verify that everything on the doors right before you tear the door out. So the first thing that you always want to check is the handing correct. Now, as it turns out, this particular door is an outswing. And so, you know, people like to do that because this is a garage. If you happen to have a car pulled up against here and someone didn't know it and they swung the door back in, you could have a significant ding. But, so the first thing you need to know, it's an outswing, but the door is going to swing this way. What I always love to share, my dad shared with me probably 55 years ago, and it's still stuck with me. The way that you know whether a door is a left hand or a right hand, those hinges back in the day were called brass butts. Sometimes you'll still see them called butt hinges. So, without being, you know, too vulgar, what you want to do is if you put your butt where the butts are going to go, where the hinges are going to go, so the hinges are going to go on this side, and it swings this way, yes, it's a left hand. If it swung in this way, it'd be a right hand. So this is actually a left hand outswing door. So we also verified the size, and it was actually a little bit tighter than I thought it was going to be, but it will fit. Generally speaking, on the width, this, and by the way, this door is a 3068. What that means is it's 3 feet and 0 inches wide and 6 foot and 8 inches tall. So that's another thing you need to know. It is also, it's an exterior door, so it's 1 3/4 inches thick. And one of the differences, besides having a different threshold, you cannot just take a interior or an in-swing door and turn it to an outswing door. We're actually going to replace one that they did that and is leaked from day one. But it has a different threshold, and another key thing on an outswing door is it has hinges. They're designed to where you can't pull them out, because if this was just a regular door with regular hinges, I could come up here, pop those hinge pins out, pry the door open, and be in about 5 or 10 minutes. So, a couple key things about that outswing. Now, I've measured the center height of those hinges from the bottom up, and I put marks on the jamb so that I can put a shim directly behind each of those hinges. And you know, there's some people that have different ways of doing it. All that I can share with you is I've been hanging exterior doors for about 50 years, and this way works for me. So, you know, there may be several different ways of doing it. There'll be some people tell you there's only one way to do it, but I can tell you that this is the way I do it, and it works. So it is a wonderful thing to have one of these longer levels. And this one is especially nice because it's got these vials that are really easy to see. I don't understand it, but somehow or another it intensifies the light for an old guy like me. By the way, I've got to remember, once we check this side and get ready to be plumbed, I want to also put a level across the bottom, because if the concrete was dramatically out of level one way or the other, we'd want to probably shim the door as we started. Also, we're going to, I think possibly we made some dust. We're going to put this sill pan underneath it, and what that helps do is if any moisture gets in, it hits the sill pan, it gets thrown to the outside. So we're going to do that also. Okay, man, oh man, this hardly ever happens. This is almost perfectly level, but experience taught me a long time ago that even though this looks perfectly level, it's a great idea to put a little bit of a shim behind the hinges, because there may be some little bump there that we can't see. And what causes the door to be hard to close is if the hinges get bound up. So having said that, here's a shim, and you can see it's wedge shaped. What I want to do is actually put the thick part of the shim the direction the hinge knuckles are going to stick out. What that does is, if anything, the hinge will be cocked just a little bit, and so if the hinge is open, that's going to keep it from binding. If I go the other direction and the shim is basically putting the hinge in a bind, it's going to make it a lot easier or a lot harder to close. So again, this door opening is 2 inches wider. So actually it's 38 and a half. So what I probably need to do is put about the thickest part of the shim here, because I'm pretty sure that door is 38 to the outside. I'm going to double check it. So it's 37 and a half. So I've got a full inch to work with. And actually, because we've got this planter right here, and this is, real life, the further I can push this door that way, the better we're going to be. So actually, got an inch. If I use 2 of these shims, that's going to get towards 3/4. A lot of times, if I am using 2 shims, I'll actually go ahead and reverse them. That would only get me to 1/2 inch. I'm going to go ahead and put both of them that way. So, I can attach these any old way. I happen to have a staple gun. Drywall nails are great. I'm going to go ahead and do the lower one first. And I'm putting these shims right behind where the bottom hinge is going to be. Now what I want to do is take the level, and I'm sure I'm going to have to use a couple up here to go all the way at the top. Now it is important, because I've got that wedge shaped thing going on. I don't want to have the level like this at a real angle. I want to have it straight like so. Okay, that could go back in just the tiniest bit. Maybe just a little bit more. So if I didn't have this level that the vials were easy to read, it might look absolutely perfect to me. I am going to call that good. So now for me, that's actually the last time I'm going to look at that bubble, because now this is just a straight edge for me. So I'm going to put that like that. Take 2 more shims, get down here. Here's that middle hinge location, and I'm just going to slide these in till they're snug. Now, because we're using the Windsor 1 trim, we don't have any trim on the outside yet. We're going to add that later. If I had my way, I kind of like to do that, because I can always make a little adjustment on these shims after we put the door in. But, if it had a trim already attached, we would just go ahead and trim these off. We may even, I'm out of shims, but when we get the door in, and we're going to use screws, here, we may even slide that back in a little bit, since I doubled these up, like so. We've got a pretty dramatic bevel on, but again, really all that matters is what happens out here at this outside. Alrighty. Sean, are you ready to go to work? I'm going to get, and by the way, I am using 2.5 inch, 15 gauge galvanized nails. We're using galvanized nails for everything we do. Oops. Wow, I just about got way ahead of myself. We got to get this in place. This is really hard to install if you've already got the door in the hole. And this is just one brand that's available locally. I'm sure there's other ones available. This is just called Jam Sill Guard. You can also get these made. Have a sheet metal shop make one up for you custom. But comes with some glue and For us, one of the most important things is going to be getting lots and lots of silicone underneath this. And one of the great convenient things about installing a 3.0 door is that's the biggest size this goes with, so we're not going to do any trimming. All right. We'll just do a little test here. I managed to. This part goes down, and in this instance, we're hopefully going to just get it right behind the brick. And then this edge is actually the dam. It might be. This is the dam that keeps water from going back to the inside. So hopefully you can see here, we've got a little bit of a corner. That's going to need to go all the way back. We're going to have to do a little bit of work with a pry bar, I'm afraid, got to get a little more caulk out of the way and a little bit of mortar so that this can be put in there where we want it. This might make it. I'm just knocking some of the excess mortar that's squeezed out of the way. Now we're going to hope, what could possibly go wrong with this? All right, we got lucky. Now, if we did have house wrap that we were going to have on here, we would definitely want to make sure the house wrap went out over this. We're probably just going to shoot a lot of silicone on this, and then we are going to try and tape this some. We want the tape to go down over it. So I still got a challenge over here. At some point, someone used an amazing amount of caulk, probably trying to stop a leak.